follicle is mature, the egg cell is not. It kind of bulges forth on the surface of the ovary, ruptures, and releases the secondary oocyte. That's the developing egg cell. Plus the cells around it. What are they called? Corona radiata. They're the cells of the follicle that stay with the egg. Okay? What's left behind from the mature secondary follicle after ovulation is this. You don't need to worry about the name. It's called the corpus hemorrhagicum. There's some bleeding with it. This then develops under the influence of hormones into this, which is
Corpus luteum.
corpus luteum, major source of female sex hormones, estrogens, which were produced by developing follicles, and then also a lot of progesterone. What hormones maintain the corpus luteum?
Luteinizing hormone.
Initially, luteinizing hormone, and then if there's pregnancy, it'll be HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. This is very important to be maintained during pregnancy because that's the major source of female sex hormones, and especially progesterone is what maintains that endometrial lining. If that degenerates, if this degenerates, the endometrium degenerates, sloughs off, and that'll take the embryo right with it. So you'll have a miscarriage or spontaneous abortion as a result. Okay? Eventually, though, this is going to shut down. Even in pregnancy, after about the first trimester, at that point now the placenta is big enough to produce enough female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, to maintain the corpus, or to maintain the endometrium and keep the pregnancy going. And then it shuts down, kind of shrivels up with scar tissue. What you got left here is what?
Corpus albicans.
Corpus albicans, which means white body. Okay? Okay, the covering of the ovary shown here in pink, which is a single layer of cuboidal cells,
Terminal layer.
terminal epithelium, and then the tan layer here, you can see right here, that's the capsule.
Tunica albuginea.
Tunica albicans.
Albicans.
Tunica
Albicans?
albuginea, I'm sorry. Tunica albuginea. Same name applied to the capsule around the testes as well. Tunica albuginea. Okay. What's this structure?
It's the
Is the ovarian ligament. It's not the oviduct. Okay. That's what attaches the ovary to the uterus. Look at the female here. The mid-sagittal section, the female. Okay. First, urinary bladder, urethra. This is the uterus, vagina. And you can see there are two openings in this cavity called the vestibule, which is surrounded by the labia minora. They in turn are surrounded by the labia majora. So the anterior opening would be the urethral orifice through which urine is discharged. The posterior opening would be the vaginal orifice. Of course, that's where a baby would be expelled with a vaginal delivery. Also, you have this organ here, which is homologous to the penis, the male. What is this?
Clitoris.
Clitoris. And the labia minora form kind of a hood-like covering over it. And by the way, you need to know the homologies between male and female. What do I mean by homologous structures?
From the same.
They have the same embryologic origin. They develop from the same tissue. So the penis, clitoris, okay, labia majora, scrotum, and so on. And that's on your handout, your lab objective sheet. Make sure you know those. Okay? All right, so the parts of the uterus, first off, the lining would be what? Endometrium, the thick muscular layer, and then the thin layer on the outside face the body cavity. Perimetrium. Also the regions of the uterus, this portion, fundus, the middle portion,
Body.
and the distal portion projects actually into the vagina.
Cervix.
That's the cervix. Of course, the cervix has to dilate in order for the baby to deliver.
What was the outermost layer? Sir?
Parametrium.
Okay.
Okay, para means around. Okay. Here, of course, is the ovary in yellow. This thing that appears to be a tube, it's in yellow. That's actually the ovarian ligament that anchors the ovary to the uterus. The pink thing that kind of drapes over, that would be the oviduct, uterine tube, or fallopian tube. It's not physically connected, but it drapes over the ovary. The expanded end here, what do we call that?
Infundibulum.
Infundibulum.
Oh, we're talking about
Fibria, the finger-like projections from that. The ocelli that help to draw the egg into the open end of the oviduct. What? Well, here's the oviduct. The pink one that expanded in is called the infundibulum. The little things look like little fingers. Those are the fimbriae. They're ciliated to draw the egg in. Okay? We've also got a couple ligaments that help to support and anchor the uterus to the body wall. This one, which one is that? That's the round ligament. Then you can see a big flat one here. You can see the edge of it right here. What's that called?
Broad ligament.
That's the broad ligament. And they basically anchor the uterus and also the ovary to the body wall, hold them in place. Okay? What's this thing right here?
What's this? Oh, that's the ureter.
Right. That's bringing urine to the urinary bladder. Okay.
Goes into the cell.
Excuse me, urethra, ureter rather, bringing from the kidney down to the urinary bladder. Of course, that's urethra. Okay? What's this thing right here?
Your pubic bones.
Pubic bone. Right. Where the two bones come together, you got a cartilaginous joint called the
Pubic
pubic
symphysis.
symphysis. That becomes very flexible late in pregnancy, so basically to accommodate the passage of the baby through the pelvic girdle.
Where did you say the infundibulum was? The big, like peak part?
Infundibulum is the expanded end of the oviduct. And these little finger-like projections, those are the fimbriae. Okay? All right, in the male. Okay, of course, the testes here in the scrotum. What's this structure right here?
Epididymis.
Epididymis. Function of epididymis?
To store and mature the sperm cells.
Okay, so temporary sperm storage and also the site of sperm maturation. And then the sperm is carried by a tube, connects with the tubes of the epididymis, and that tube runs up from the scrotum up to the body cavity, comes around the side of the urinary bladder, then comes down behind the urinary bladder, and basically you see it here again, okay? It's within the spinal cord. This is the ductus deferens or vas deferens. This comes down and then actually penetrates the prostate gland and couples with the prostatic urethra, which you see there. What's the expanded distal end?
Just to hold this.
Of the ductus deferens. You can see it actually right in here, just before it goes to the prostate. What do we call that?
The ampulla.
The ampulla, the part that runs through the prostate gland and couples with the prostatic urethra. That's the ejaculatory duct. Then you can see the prostatic urethra. Then we'll run into the urogenital diaphragm, and then through. So here again. Okay. There's a prostatic urethra. That'd be the membranous urethra. Here's the beginning of the spongy or penile urethra. Okay. Okay, as far as the accessory sex organs that produce the seminal fluid in the male, which make up most of the semen, you have a pair of seminal vesicles here. And they contribute about 60%. The majority comes from here. Then you have the prostate gland, you can see here, just inferior to the urinary bladder. See here in section. That contributes about 30%. Then you have a pair of tiny little glands here associated with the urogenital diaphragm. And these are what?
Calipers.
Cowper's glands or bulbourethral glands, same thing. And they secrete maybe about 5% of the
That's the one that
secretion.
secretes first and flushes.
Usually
out, right?
secretes first, kind of a clear fluid. It flushes debris out of the urethra prior to ejaculation. So basically gets rid of urine, trace of urine, any debris, helps to neutralize the acidity, because remember the urine is usually slightly acidic. You want to keep it basic to prevent the deterioration of sperm, because the sperm will be killed by acidic conditions. That's why the ejaculate, okay, the semen, which only a small part sperm, is mostly seminal fluid from the seminal vesicles, the prostate, and the bulbourethral glands, and it's basic. Help to neutralize the acidity of the female reproductive tract. Because again, that would kill the sperm. And of course, the point is the female reproductor keep it acidic to keep down bacterial growth. That's why sometimes douching, if you bring that pH up too far, what can happen is you predispose yourself to infections as a result of it. Okay. All right, any questions on this?
Wait, the corpus spongiosum.
Okay, well, we haven't quite gotten.
Oh.
columns of rectal tissue. And penis. You can see them here. Okay, here's the urethra again. That'd be the sponge or penile urethra. The red tissue around it, which expands distally into the glans penis, that's the corpus spongiosum. The two dorsal columns, you can see one here in longitudinal section and one in cross section. Those are corpora cavernosa. So those are 3 columns filled with sinuses, which the blood percolates. When the blood gets trapped in there, that's what brings about the erection. Okay, with sexual excitement. You can see part of it here too. That's one of the corpora cavernosa, and that's another one here in section. And then you can see, of course, around the urethra itself, expanding into the glans penis. That's the corpus spongiosum. Okay. Answer your question? All right, embryonic development. You need to understand that as well. And by the way, here on the breast, you see the clusters of milk-producing cells here. These are the alveoli. Then you can see the ducts coming out. Those would be the lactiferous ducts. And notice that they expand slightly before they pass through the nipple. Lactiferous sinuses. The pigmented part around the nipple, that's the areola.
This little bump right there, that's the sinus?
Yeah, the little sacs. See the little sac-like structure? It's like an expansion of the lactiferous duct before they go through, penetrate the nipple.
The alveoli?
Alveoli are these clusters of milk-secreting cells, right in here. And then, of course, most of the mass of breath would be fat, as you see there. Okay? Embryonic development. We start here. This is the fertilized egg cell. You can see this is going to scale the size of the sperm cell relative to the egg. You see how tiny it is. Head and the tail or flagellum. That's the egg cell nucleus. Then it starts to divide by mitosis, 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage. This would normally be 8, but one hasn't completed, so it's actually got 7 cells. Continues to divide, and then you get a solid ball of cells, about 32-cell stage. What's that called?
Moy.
A morula, which means buried. Then as the cells continue to divide, they get smaller and smaller. They start to pull away from one another. Morula. Okay? Then as the cells draw away, now you have a cavity within, and at this stage now it's called what?
Blastocyte?
Blastocyst. Okay, cyte means cell. Okay, these individual cells are called blastomeres. But if I ask what are the cells here called? What would you say? Trophoblast. Okay. The yellow here represents what's going to become the embryo. That's the inner cell mass. So this is trophoblast. All right. What hormone produced by the trophoblast? HCG, human gonadotropin, which maintains the corpus luteum, which in turn, by progesterone, maintains the endometrium. Okay? This is the stage that emerges into the uterine cavity from the oviduct. This is also the stage the embryo's in when it implants in uterine lining. That's significant. Okay? Once it implants, then it starts to grow. Eventually, it flattens out into a bilayered embryonic disc, which we see here, which lies between the two Xtronic membranes, which are the amnion and the yolk sac. So the embryo is actually right here, those 2 cell layers of the amnion in orange and the yolk sac in yellow. Okay? I'd like you to know these Xtronic membranes and what they do. These are membranes around the embryo. Okay? By the way, what is early stage of development called, which occurs in the oviduct? It's called cleavage. Cleavage is cell division with an increase in cell number without an appreciable increase in size. You can see the fertilized egg about the same size as the morula and the blastocyst. All this is going on in the oviduct once fertilization occurs. So by the time it emerges, uterine cavity, it's not a fertilized egg anymore, it is a blastocyst. And that's the stage it's going to be in when it implants. Usually about 7 or so days after conception. Then once it implants, then it starts to grow. And eventually, it's going to, and we don't have a stage showing that, it's going to form the gastrula. That process is called gastrulation. What's so important about gastrulation as far as the embryo is concerned?
So we're
Is that when
congratulations.
cells differentiate?
Okay, this is where you get the formation of the three primary germ layers, which are
Ectoderm, mesoderm,
endoderm, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Ectoderm gives rise to tissue of the body that are outside. Your epidermis, your skin, your sense organs, your skin, your hair, your nails, your sweat glands, oil glands, and so on. Plus also the nervous system, which starts on the surface of the embryo as a groove, then it folds over in a neural tube. That becomes the brain and spinal cord and all the nerves that emanate from it, your peripheral nervous system. Okay, all ectodermal origin. Middle region forms things in the middle of the body, which would be your connective tissue, your skeleton, muscle, okay? Also the bone, of course, and cartilage, also your reproductive organs, things like this. And then the inner part come from the endoderm. This would be your GI tract, your digestive organs like liver and pancreas, also your respiratory tract as well, and the common passageway they have that they share, the pharynx, the throat, all of endodermal origin.
So endoderm basically is what's going to be connected to the ectoderm in the long run?
Well, they're all going to be connected eventually, but I'm saying it'll be tissues on the inside of the body, deepest of the body, like your GI
But they
tract.
open up to the outside, right?
Well, the GI tract does, and so does the respiratory tract, yes.
Mesoderm is only in the